परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम् श्री राधा कृष्ण पदां साधन ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण से प्रकाश बाबू जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरिबा
हरे कृष्ण बाबू जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
yes bro.
Is it okay Prabhu ji to turn on your video?
I'm just
Yes.
yes bro.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you for spotlight. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Dandot Pranams. Welcome all of you for the today's morning program, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We are very happy to have His Grace Swayam Prabhu, and today he will enlighten us on Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 10th chapter, and text 22. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatiruttamashloke Bhaktirbhavati Naishchiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 10, entitled Maharaj Ravagunas meets Jadabharata. Text 22nd. Word to word meaning: Thali on the cooking pot, Agni tapat, because of the heat of fire. Payasaha, the milk put into the pot. Abhitapaha becomes hot. Tat tapat, tap, tapataha, because of the milk becoming hot. Tandula garbarandihi, the center of the rice within the milk becomes cooked. Deha indriya ashwas, aswashaya, the bodily senses. Sannikarshat, from having connections with. Tat samsmritihi, the experience of fatigue and other miseries. Purushasya, of the soul. Anurodhat, from complaints due to being grossly attached to the body, senses, and mind. Kalyagnitata tapat payasobhitapas tattapatastandulagarbarandihi dehendriya dehendriya swashaya sannikarshat tatsamsmriti purushasyanurodhat. Translation preferred by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. King Rahugana continued, "My dear sir, you have said that designations like bodily fatness and thinness are not characteristics of the soul. That is incorrect, because designations like pain and pleasure are certainly felt by the soul. You may put a pot of milk and rice within the fire, and the milk and rice are automatically heated one after the another. Similarly, due to bodily pains and pleasures, the senses, mind, and soul are affected. The soul cannot be completely detached from this conditioning." Purport. This argument put forward by Maharaj Rahugana is correct from the practical point of view, but it arises from an attachment to the bodily conception. It can be said that a person sitting in his car is certainly different from his car. But if there is damage to the car, the owner of the car, being overly attached to the car, feels pain. Actually, the damage done to the car has nothing to do with the car's proprietor. But because the proprietor has identified himself with the interest of the car, he feels pleasure and pain connected with it. This conditional state can be avoided if attachment is withdrawn from the car. Then the proprietor would not feel pleasure or pain if the car is damaged or whatever. Similarly, the soul has nothing to do with the body and the senses. But due to ignorance, he identifies himself with the body, and he feels pleasure and pain due to bodily pleasure and pain. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वः पदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नीलाचलनिवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्रसुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे Hare Krishna. So this section of Jadavarta is going on where King Rahugana is asking questions to Jadavarta, and we see here in this whole chapter from the beginning, Ravana, after offending the Jadabharata, he begs forgiveness, and also he feels that in the second section, where like just few verses before, we see Rahugana says that I fear offending the Vaishnavas. Naham vishanke surrajavaryan natraksha nayamasya dandat nagnarka soma anila vittapastrat shanke brisham dhamma kulavamana. I'm very much afraid of offending the Brahmanas, although I don't afraid Indra's thunderbolt, Lord Shiva's trident, Yamaraja's punishment, fire, scorching heat, sun, moon, wind, Kuvera's weapon. All these things I don't fear, but I fear very much of uh, offending the Vaishnava or a devotee or Brahmana. So after saying that, now he understands that the person who is here is not an ordinary person, and now he starts asking questions to uh, Jadabharata. And here, when he starts asking questions one by one, what he had told and what the reply Jadabharata had given, based on that, again he puts forward few more questions. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also asks that he tries to ask intelligently, so that he understood that he is not an ordinary person, so he wanted to get more clarification and clear understanding. So in this verse, he is telling that this is compared to the previous question of uh, the reply which Jadabharata has given in the ninth shloka, where Ravana had told, you must be fatigued from carrying the palanquin alone for so long and for so far. For that, in the ninth one, he says, like, I'm a soul detached from the body. And he says that your words are actually true, not sarcastic. The load, path of travel, and destination belong to the body and not to me. For I am a spirit soul, being detached from the body. I am not fatigued carrying the palanquin. So he said that whatever the pain or the what you are saying is, that is for the body. Yes, that is true. But I am spirit soul. So for me, it doesn't disturb. Now he is putting forward in this 22nd verse, he is putting forward the question for the same thing, saying that, see, you are telling that you are not the body, but at the same time, the soul is in the body, and because of that, uh, he considers himself very intelligently. He asks a question, and if you carefully see, it is very much convincing also, the analogy what he is giving. He says there is a pot. Inside the pot there is milk, and when you keep the pot on the fire, and the pot gets the heat, and the heat gets transferred to the milk, and milk gets boiled, and then you put the tandula. Tandula means the rice in that, and slowly the outer covering of the rice gets cooked, and after some time the inner side of the rice gets cooked. So that way, although fire is there put to the pot, but the rice is getting cooked. The same way he's comparing that the body is there, but inside the body there are subtle senses, and the soul is there. So when anything happens to the body, then the pain or the pleasure that gets transferred to the subtle body, and the subtle body to the soul. So that way, ultimately, the who is feeling the pain and pleasure is the body. That's what he says now in this. That see, Tandula Garbarandihi, like the Tandula gets cooked, the same way Dehendriya, our Ashwasaya Sannikarsha, because of the Sannikarsha having connection with the thing, that is, the pot has connection with the milk, and the milk has connection with the rice. So that way the heat is getting transferred. The same way pain and pleasure gets transferred from the body to the soul. So that way, ultimately, the soul cannot be completely detached from this conditioning. And like no, Prabhupada in the answer in the future again, Rahugana King Jadabharata is going to answer this. But Prabhupada says that yes, it appears to be very put forward by Maharaj Rahugana is correct from practical point of view. Practically, in one sense, it is correct because the heat is getting touched to the pot, and then it is getting transferred. The same way one may see, yes, bodies get connected to this gross body, which is made up of the five elements: earth, water, air, fire, ether. Bhumi rapo analo vayo kham mano buddhirevacha. Ahankara ityame binna prakriti rashtada. And the remaining, the three, mm, uh, the mind, intelligence, and the false ego, they're the subtle body, and they are connected to the gross body, and the soul is within that. Because of that, it may appear that yes, it is true. Prabhupada says, but it arises from an attachment to the bodily conception. So that is although this is very intelligent on a bodily platform, Rahugana his question is very intelligent, and he's very convincing, but it is very convincing only on a material platform, but not on the spiritual platform. So he also gives an example, Prabhupada, that I'll just see. Last time also, I think I had shown the same photo. If it is there, had shown the Prabhupada gives the car example. Last time I just had taken it, but then this time it is like no more aptly. It is Prabhupada gives the same example. I'll just share. Last time also I had shown it. See this, I had showed that if the car is there, brand new car, and if something happens to the car, the owner of the car feels very much pained, as if it has happened to him only. Just to give a personal example, just 2 days back we had the children some class kind of thing discussion we had, and in between one of the boy asked, Proji, can I get a pen? So I just gave my pen. So after giving the pen, then the whole thing got over, and then afterwards they gave me the pen back. When I got the pen, I was just trying to put it in the pocket. It used to fit in tightly. I saw that it is loosely going, and when I offered obeisances, Panchakalpatar Vishad, then it fell down. I noticed the pen, the hook which fits, no, that has become, it was like practically, it was like this. Immediately I was just thinking, I just told that, hey, who did this? And everybody were looking at each other, not telling who did it. And then I just tried to see that every time I bend down, it falls down now. So later I was just contemplating that, yes, this pen I got just this Tuesday only, Narayar gave 2-3 days back. So I was just thinking, till that time, 3 days back, it was not there with me, and I didn't had any uh, identification with it. But just I got it. Now I feel that, oh, this is like no mine. And whenever anything happens to this, I feel, hey, why this is happening. So that way, when we identify with anything, then anything happens to that particular thing, then we feel the the pain or the pleasure or that we feel. But then, in one sense, actually nothing has happened to me. It has happened, something has happened to the pen. So I was just hearing from Bhakti Vaishnava Ashray Maharaj. Maharaj gave very nice one more example similar to this. He said that just imagine that you are going in a bus. You're sitting in the bus and going. And the moment anybody calls us, I pick up the phone and I tell, where are you? Bro, I am on the way to like Bangalore. But in literally, I am just sitting in the bus. I am not going. I am just sitting. But the bus is moving. But I tell I am going because we identify with the bus. The bus is moving and we identify with that, and then that's why we feel I am going. I am just about to reach Bangalore. And if the uh, driver applies the brake, we may get hit. And then like no one may say, oh, but you got the hurt. Yes, but the same thing when you get down, anything happens to the, even the accident happens to the bus, the driver doesn't feel any, or the passenger as it, we don't feel anything. So the same way, although we are uh, not doing anything, the bus is doing, but we identify with the bus and we say, I'm about to reach. The same way he says, there the the body is considered compared to the soul, but the same thing in this body, this is the vehicle, and the vehicle may be doing or anything may happen to this, but the soul, because of its identification or the attachment, it gets feels the pain or the pleasure. But here the Jadabrata, being on the platform of the soul, he feels, it doesn't identify himself with this body. And uh, just like at a material platform, this may appeal to be very much convincing, but the soul being spiritual, this doesn't apply to soul, because when we understand the nature of the soul, then we can try to say that, oh, this is not the correct understanding what Rahugana is putting forward. Because the same situation Arjuna was also in. When Arjuna came to the battlefield, when he had to um, fight with his other cousins, then he said that, oh, Krishna, I'm not going to fight. And he put forward so many arguments. And in the second chapter itself, in the beginning of the second chapter, Krishna directly chastises Arjuna. Arjuna gives few more reasons why I should not be fighting. And Krishna calls him as like, no, you are a moodha, and you are like, no, Klaibhyammasmaga Partha, like, no, that why are you speaking like a uh, fool? And then just after telling that, in the beginning of the second chapter itself, he goes on to tell about the nature of the soul. And when he tells from almost around 14, 15, 16th verse onwards only he goes on telling about the nature of the soul. So here he tells that those who are the seer of the truth have concluded that the non-existent, that is the material body, there is no endurance, and the eternal soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. And
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, your
Huh?
video is inverted, like it is black, like that it's coming.
What, bro?
Your video,
Uh-huh.
it's coming like black, inverted colors. Any
Oh, I
changes?
don't know.
Now it is fine. Like when you shared, it was coming just before. You can reshare Prabhuji again.
Okay. Even this one was also coming like that only?
No, text is fine, but again, if you are coming, that inverted colors kind of.
Okay.
Okay, fine, Prabhuji, no problem. Maybe whatever, whenever you share, you are seeing that.
Okay. Fine. Now is it okay?
Now it's fine, Prabhuji. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then he says that which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So, and then further he tells that, like he tells the what is the size of the soul, how it is 1 by 10,000 tip of the hair. Antamanta ime deha nityasukta sharirana anashino aprameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata. Please fight because the material body is indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Sorry, the material body is surely come to an end, but the spiritual, that is indestructible, immeasurable, eternal, that is the soul, so that is permanent. So that's why you should fight. Uh, the self lays not nor is slain. That means nothing can happen to the soul. Then najayate mrite va kada chinnayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuya ajo nitya shashvatayam purana nahanyate hanyamane sharire. That like no soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. That means anything happens to the body, soul, nothing happens to the soul. Body gets destroyed, but soul remains permanent. And again, in the next few shlokas, he goes on to tell that how Vasamsi Jirnani, how when this body becomes old and unusable, then with the body goes away and the soul moves to the next body, just like a person changes his dress when it is torn and no more usable. And in 23 onwards, in 2 3 shlokas, he goes on to tell like Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, the Shastra cannot cut. Nainam Dahati Pavaka, Pavaka means the fire cannot burn. Nachainam Kledayanti Apa means the water cannot wet it. Nashoshayati Maruta, Maruta means the wind cannot dry it. And Prabhupada here in the purport writes that there are many different weapons and scientists, they don't have the knowledge only. See, nor do the modern scientists have knowledge of the tornado weapons. In any case, the soul can never be cut into pieces or otherwise annihilated by any kind of weapon. And Prabhupada says, and I think in the next one, then Achedyoyam Adahyoyam Akledyoshosya Evacha Nitya Sarvagatastanur Achaloyam Sanatana. That this individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can neither be burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. That means it is eternally, nothing can happen to it. That means it is unchangeable in one sense. That's why Krishna is telling. All these qualifications of the atomic soul definitely prove that the individual soul is eternally atomic particle of the spirit whole, and he remains the same atomic eternally without change. And then Prabhupada writes that they live everywhere in the, even in the sun also, there are living entities according to the, because it is said sarvagata means everywhere it is there. Then avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmadeva viditvainam nanashochitum arhasi. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. That means nothing can happen to soul. Arjuna, please, whatever is you are going to fight, whatever happens, even if you kill, what you are doing is to the body, and for the soul there is no change or nothing is going to happen. And that's why you should fight. That's why here Krishna is telling. And in this verse, Prabhupada says, as far as, yeah, the magnitude of soul is so small for our material calculation that he cannot be seen even by the most powerful microscope. Therefore, he is invisible. As far as the soul's existence is concerned, no one can establish his existence experimentally beyond the proof of Shruti or Vedic wisdom. We have to accept this truth because there is no other source of understanding the existence of the soul, although it is a fact by perception. There are many things we have to accept solely on the grounds of superior authority. No one can deny the existence of his father based on the authority of his mother. There is no source of understanding the identity of the father except by the authority of the mother. Similarly, there is no source of understanding the soul except by studying the Vedas. In other words, sorry, the soul is inconceivable by human experimental knowledge. The soul is conscious. Sorry, the soul is consciousness and conscious. That also is the statement of the Vedas, and we have to accept that. Unlike the bodily changes, there is no change in the soul. As eternally unchangeable, the soul remains atomic in comparison to the infinite supreme soul. Then again goes on to tell. And Prabhupada writes very beautiful statement at the end. This concept is repeated in the Vedas in different ways just to confirm the stability of the conception of the soul. Repetition of something is necessary in order that we understand the matter thoroughly without error. So that's why Krishna is again and again in so many ways he's telling that this cannot be dried, wet, cut, burnt. All the possibilities he's telling that it is eternal. So that Arjuna is convinced that nothing can happen to the warriors who are on the other side. Then he will be convinced to fight. Then if nothing can happen to the soul, why to fight? Because the body is the carrier of the soul, and based on the desires and the previous actions, one may get the reactions, and based on that, this body is karmana daivanetrina jantur dehopapattaye. That like no karmana daivanetrina, like no, based on his karma and daivanetrina, based on the Lord's sanction, he gets like no sata sat janma yonishu. Based on that, he gets the yoni of the sat and asat based on his previous karma. And once the soul comes to that, it will be there till the time its period or the duration is there. So till the time he cannot be get out of it. But at the same time, the soul is different from the the physical body. And after telling that, again in the after 2-3 verses, he says also, Jatasya Dhromutra Mrityu Dhrom Janma Mritasya. Whoever has taken birth, he has to die, and whoever is dead, they have to again take birth again based on their karma. That's why Nattam Shochitam Arhasi. That's why you should not lament on this. And after telling all the like no the nature of the soul, Krishna tells in this 29th verse, Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam, Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyah, Ascharyavat chainam anyah shrunoti, Shrutvaapyenam vedana chaiva kaschit. That is, like, it is Ascharya, it's so amazing that some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. So, because unless one has some Sukriti, one may not be able to hear or understand this. Just like, just sorry. So unless one has the Sukriti, he cannot understand the some basic things also. Uh, that's why the human species are 4 lakh in number, and that is because of the consciousness. And based on the level of consciousness, one will be able to perceive this or not. Yeah. So as I said here, the whole this the pain or the pleasure is perceived by the soul because of or the person because of the misidentification with the body. Unless he misidentifies, or till the time he doesn't identify, then he'll not have that. Just like uh, just to give another uh, example which I could think of, that just 3-4 days back, or uh, Rath Yatra, yeah, Rath Yatra day, one of the old dude was in touch with me. He had come, and I was talking to him, and he told that Prabhu, my mother is going to undergo one operation. Please pray for her. I said, yes, Prabhu, surely I'll offer prayers. I told that, but if I reflect back, yes, yesterday he sent me a message, Prabhu, today is the operation. I just offered prayers, my dear Lord, whatever is good for the soul, please may that happen. May she get recovered. But then if I carefully see I could not feel any emotions much compared to when I heard that during the Rath Yatra, my father got hurt in the leg. Immediately I felt, okay, I just made a call, and multiple things I was just trying to see, okay, some duty has taken and all. So because of the identification with the person, I feel that, oh, if anything happens to him, then I feel pain. But the same thing, because of that, I don't have the identification with the other person. I don't feel any much emotions of the pain. That's what the Shastra say, that this is all because of the identification with the body, that one feels the pain or the pleasure. But once that identification is not there, then one doesn't feel any pain or the pleasure more much. And till the time one know, no, one feels prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasya ahankara kartam iti manyate. Then third line I'm missing. Then he feels that he is the doer, and because of that he considers, although the prakriti is doing, he feels he's the doer, and he identifies with him. Anything good or bad happens, he feels he's the winner or the loser, or he's victorious, or he's failed, or he's being pained, or he's in happy, joyous, all those things feel. But once when is like till the time he is in the modes, he will have this the identification. And once he is gunatita, is beyond the modes, when he identifies his real nature, that Jivera Swarupa Krishnera Nityadas, that like the soul, I am not this body, I am the spirit soul, and my eternal position is as a servant of the uh, Supreme Lord Krishna. When that identification comes, then all other things will not much affect him. He is like no, although that doesn't mean that he is not there in this world. He is there in this world. He is doing all his responsibilities, but he is untouched. Padma Patra Vambasam. That although he is in this world, but just like the lotus leaf, it doesn't affected, but get affected by the water. Although it is present in the water, it is untouched. The same a person may be in this world, doing the things of this world, but still he doesn't get affected by it. He is like the, it said a um, sadhaka or a materialistic person or a normal practicing devotee is like a wet coconut. Wet coconut, the outer shell is there, or the outer the fibrous part is there, cover. After that, the shell is there. After that, the coconut is there, and inside that, the water is there. It's all interconnected. Because of that connection, identification, then one feels the pain or the pleasure. But a gunatita or a pure devotee or a self-realized soul, or in the last part of the second chapter, it comes that Sita Prajnasya ka abhasha, like the Sita Prajna, how he acts or works and all. He is like uh, a dry coconut. Dry coconut shell is there, and inside that copra is completely detached. You move it and it makes a sound. It's not attached. So he's like that. He's although he's inside the shell, he's inside the body, but he doesn't identify. Because of that, whatever happens to this body, he is not affected. The very wonderful example is that of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. It is really very inspiring to hear that when His Holiness Sachinandan Swami Maharaj asked in one of the gathering that, Maharaj, how are you feeling? Then Jayapataka Swami Maharaj said, yes, I had this brain stroke, then the kidney was changed, then the liver was replaced, and then he had another attack, all these things. But I'm very happy. Why? All this has happened to this body, and he is not identifying himself with the body, because of which, as a spirit soul, I am so happy serving the Supreme Lord, going out and preaching and spreading the mission of Lord Chaitanya, that I am very happy. Whereas a person who is uh, in the bodily platform, he will consider, oh, so much of pain is there, so much is there. Let me not do this, let me not do that. But one who is out of this bodily platform, he is unaffected, although he is there in this body. Because based on the prarabdha, till the time one gets a body, one may not be able to change it. Just like if you have a Maruti car, you cannot make it to work like a Benz or Ferrari. It has some limitations, it has some needs. The same way, although a pure devotee may be in this material, till the time he is in this material body, although he is liberated, like that's what the Rupa Goswami Pad says in the Upadeshamrita, not Upadeshamrita, Bhaktir Samrita Sindhu. Iha yasya hare dasya karmana manasagira nikalashwapi avastasu jivan mukta sauchyate. That is, a person who is completely 100% absorbed in like no kaya vacha manasa in the Supreme Lord, his, even though he is in this body, iha yasya hare dasya, and like no Nikilashwapi avastas, in whatever situation he is in, but he is Jivan Mukta. He is liberated. Even while being in this material body. The same way, they may be in the material body, the body may have limitations, but they are completely beyond it. At the same time, what the nectar of instruction, Srila Rupa Goswami Pada again says that one should not judge the external of a pure devotee. Because the external body may have some defects or the needs or the uh, actions, activities, whatever it is there. But just like a Ganga water, while she is flowing, there may be a lot of foam or the bubbles, all those things are there. But spiritually, she is completely pure. The same way, a pure devotee, although he's in the body and the body may have defects or deformations or the he may take some things and all, but then one should not judge because he is completely pure while being this spiritual. So that's why the whole the example or the analogy given by King Rahugana is not the right understanding, although for the material brain it appears to be right. Although he's saying that the heat gets transferred from the pot to the milk and milk to the rice and it gets cooked, the same way when anything happens to the body, the subtle body gets affected and the soul gets affected. Whereas the pure devotee, he doesn't identify with the soul, sorry, gross body or the subtle body. So that's why he remains unaffected. That's why sukha dukkha labho labha 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 jaya jaya sama sukha samadukka sukha. Like no, all those things like no, being equipoised. So many places in the Bhagavad Gita it comes. Why? That he doesn't get affected by the dualities of this world. And that is a glory of a pure devotee. And that's what here being Rahugana or the Jadabarta, he being on that platform of the soul, he is not affected by any of these things. So whereas till the time we are in this conception of the bodily conception, one may feel this pain and pleasure. So then the next question comes, how to come out of this bodily attachment? Because Krishna doesn't say that to Arjuna also. Arjuna said that I don't want any of these things. Let me give up this body. Let me die. Then Krishna chastised him. No, you have some responsibilities while being here. You should do it. As a king, you should fight. So that way Krishna is not telling him to get just give up this body or something. But then what Krishna tells him is that uh, later part, he says that what is it? Mam anusmara yuddhacha, that you fight because that is your responsibility, duty. At the same time, Mam anusmara, you remember me. So the same way, this bodily attachment can be given up by getting the knowledge. Because of the ignorance or not having the right knowledge, one may be attached or identifying with the body. So first thing is, when we get the knowledge, it is like a theory. Just like a student, when he hears any theory, he understands what is what. But when he goes to the lab and practically applies it, then that becomes, he verifies that. The same way, first thing is to get the knowledge. That is like the understanding the theory. And the same thing we see that Arjuna, when he heard from Krishna, he came to the senses. Or here also, we see that when Rahugana heard from Jadabharata, later he comes to the senses. And the same way, Chitraketu Maharaj, he heard from Angira Muni, and Mrigari heard from Narada. When they got the knowledge, they came to their senses. The same way, by hearing from the great souls and from the scriptures, when one gets the knowledge, that knowledge helps us to come to the right understanding. But just having the knowledge is not sufficient. One should try to work on the basis or based on the knowledge. Otherwise, it will be just like that the story of the birds. Once there were many birds, and one of the wise elderly bird had told, "See, शिकारी आएगा, दाना डालेगा, जाल फंसाएगा, गलती से भी जाल में फंसना नहीं." And all of them had heard it every day, and all of them had memorized also. Every day, all the the small birds would tell, शिकारी आएगा, दाना डालेगा, जाल फंसाएगा, गलती से भी जाल में फंसना नहीं. And one day Shikari came. Shikari was looking. And looking at the Shikari, they all were telling, Shikari aayega, he came. Dana dalega, he put the grains. Jal fasaega, he threw the net. Galti se bhi jal mein fasna nahi. And they were eating the grains and they all were caught and he was carrying it while going in the back of the Shikari or the hunter. They were reciting, Shikari aayega, dana dalega, jal फंसाएगा गलती से भी जाल में फंसना नहीं. The same way, it is not just that we keep speaking. Otherwise, sometimes even I also speak a lot. At least after coming to ISKCON, after hearing so much, we keep speaking. But then, unless you put it into practice, it may just remain a theory, and there may not be any transfer. It may just remain as an information, but it may not transform, or there may not be any hard transformation. But Krishna tells that one should act on the platform of knowledge. That's why Krishna again and again he tells to Arjuna that you fight. Like no, and Krishna didn't remove anyone, or like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told to Raghunath Das Goswami. He didn't tell him that you give up everything or leave, but he told like no, you go back, be like a paramour, and when the right time comes, Krishna will show you the mercy. And he gave the example of just like a wife has a paramour, like another lover than the husband, then she's very careful serving the husband so that he never ever gets the doubt. The same way he tells to Raghunath Goswami, you go back and be engaged in your all the affairs as if nobody doubts you, but internally, just like that wife always constantly meditating on the other lover, but serving the husband. The same way, you internally meditate and worship and like no, remember the Supreme Lord while externally do your duties. And with that, he's teaching us also that one may be in this world fully having all the responsibilities while doing all the duties nicely as what is supposed to be done, but internally one cultivates the uh, attachment, attraction, absorption toward the Supreme Lord. Because at any point of the time, uh, uh, the only person who can come to our shelter or help us is the Supreme Lord only. No one else of this world or nothing of this world can come to our rescue or support or anything. That's what was experienced by uh, Gajendra when he was at the time of that great struggle got by the crocodile. Nothing could come into existence, although the family members, everyone were trying to come for the rescue. The same way, that's why the Shastra, the scriptures also tell that Deha Patra Kalatra Adishu, Asat Sainyeshu, it calls the things of this world and the relations are the Asat Sainya. That means the Sainya is there for a king, the Sainya or the what do you call the army is there, but Asat Sainya, but when it is needed at that time, if they don't come to the rescue or help, then what is the use of that? This one. The same way, it calls it as Asat Sainya because all the things of this world, uh, when the time of the the real challenge or the this comes of the time of leaving the body, that time everybody may be there or anything may be there, but nothing can come to the rescue except the Supreme Lord. That's what we see in the case of the Jamila also. That was a time the Vishnududas came and he chanted the name of Lord, and then he got the again second chance. The same if we can also like try to practice praying to the Supreme Lord and develop that while doing the nice duties, because as a we are all followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he never told anybody to give up the responsibilities. Even when the Kurma Brahmana, he told Chaitanya, my dear Lord, I am very much tormented, burning burned by this fire of material existence. I don't want anything. I'll leave everything and come meet you. He said, no, you stay here. Sthane sthita shrudigatam tanuvan manobhir. Like, no, sthane sthita, wherever you are, you be there. But shrudigatam, like, no, but you hear. And like, no, that way you develop that the relationship with the Supreme Lord, which is eternal and permanent. And try to revive that, because that is the uh, eternal identity and the relationship with the Supreme Lord. By that, what happens? Ajita Jitopi. Like, no, even the Ajita, the Supreme Lord, who cannot be conquered, becomes conquered by the devotee who is offering him the the loving devotional service. So that is a way of how one can transform by practical devotional service. Srila Prabhupada has given us so many wonderful services to render, by which that relationship can be established. Just like if a husband and wife, if there is no mutual service rendered to each other, the relationship will not grow uh, deeper. Only when the wife cooks for the husband and husband brings things for the wife and supports and takes care and all, with that, the mutual um, uh, support and the service, the relationship becomes deeper. The same way, when we also render the service to the Supreme Lord, by that service, the relationship can become deeper and deeper. And then, when that relationship is there, one feels for it. So, the same way Srila Prabhupada has given us such wonderful opportunities, so many wonderful services for the pleasure of the Lord, and especially the Archa Vigraha deities, by they are not different from the Supreme Lord, and by rendering service to them, also one can feel that, develop that relationship, and by that one can come out of this misidentification, and then whatever happens to the external body, then the as a soul, one will not identify with those things, and one will not feel the pain and pleasure. And that's what the answer which was given by Jadabharata, whereas Rahugana understood the other way, because he was not yet uh, seeing the spiritual nature of the soul. So these were a few points which I thought of sharing. So thank you very much. If anybody has any comments, clarifications, or questions, I'm open. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for very nice and instructive and with a lot of warnings. The class, like the how we started with, the analogy given by the King Rahuguna, pot and milk and rice. So how you mentioned, like pot is the body, milk is subtle body, and rice. So similarly, had as heat gets transferred from pot to milk to rice. So same thing, pleasure and pain and pleasure gets transformed to the from body to the subtle body and to the soul. And then this is they mentioned that this is because of the bodily attachment. So nice example given the purport is like how the proprietor or owner gets attached to the car. And then the Jadabharata is on the soul platform, so he does not identify with the body, so he could talk about these things. And then you mentioned about how the Arjuna was also on the bodily platform just before Kurukshetra war. Then Krishna started explaining the characteristics of the soul from the Bhagavata verses 14, 15, 16, and all those. And then, so no one can establish the existence of the soul except except through hearing the Vedic wisdom. And then the question is like you mentioned, if the soul is destructible, then why to fight? So that is because the body and subtle bodies are because of previous conditioning and to stop those things. And based on the level of consciousness, so you mentioned why there are 4 lakh species of human beings. So that is because of the level of consciousness. So pain and pleasure are because of bodily identification, and these are under the 3 modes of nature. So one becomes the gunatita above the modes. So or is also called like sthita prajna. So then, like our real identity will be knowing that okay, we are the part and parcel of Krishna. So then they don't get affected uh, by whatever externally happening. So even though they are doing the things of this metal world, but they are not attached, they are not affected by these things. Then we talked about the Jivan Mukta. So how is in the it does not matter what our condition is in, but is always liberated. Then where like Rupa Goswami is saying that okay, one should not judge the external defects, so-called external defects. With the example of Ganga Mata, like there could be little bit contamination, and but Ganga is still pure. So then we should not. I mean, with that analogy, you said we should not judge any external defects of the great personalities. Then you mentioned about in the liberated state how they are in the equipoise state in all cases. And then how Krishna told Arjuna, like you fight, but always think of me, remember me, and get the like. Then you mentioned how to transform. So you said, hear the knowledge, that is theory, get the knowledge from, then work on that knowledge to put into the action. So nice example you have given that. Okay, that birds. So that is the, I mean, maybe for me it is that is the action missing, and then you have given the examples of how King Rahukuna, Mrugari, Chitraketu, Arjuna, all these great personalities got transformed after hearing the knowledge. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Raghunath Goswami, saying, okay, internally you cultivate Krishna consciousness, externally do things, whatever is required. So with the example of Paramore, you have nicely given that example. And also here they mentioned that only Krishna will be always with you, everywhere and anywhere, wherever we are there. So all other external things no will not be with us always. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to Kurma Brahmana, that like don't give up the external responsibilities, hear the glories of the Lord and cultivate again internal consciousness. And then you said like how with the devotional, pure devotional service, the Ajita becomes Jita. And then Srila Prabhupada gave us, I mean, very nice process to take us back to spiritual world. So we need to follow with proper intention and spirit. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a very nice class. And lines are already unmuted. You can unmute and ask any questions. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna devotees. Prabhuji, one doubt, like basically two doubts. So one is that like when talking about the characteristics of the soul, so it says it is said immovable. That is the one that I could not understand, Prabhuji. Meaning like soul anyway moves, but why it is called immovable?
Let's just immutable.
Not immutable, bro. Immovable.
And just
Okay.
imperishable. Which sloka it is?
I think 23 or 24, bro. I think 23 about the weapons and 24, I guess.
Achala. Yeah.
Achaloyam Sanat.
Actually, I'll just try to think about it and tell, because what I understand is that like no the soul is eternal. That way, in one sense that the body is the one which moves, just like the example of the Maharaj gave that example, no, that I'm just about to reach the Bangalore, but that I'm not reaching. I'm just sitting in the vehicle. The vehicle is moving. So that way it is not moving, the vehicle, the carrier is moving. But then I'll again check back and I can get back to exact this one. I'll
Hare
get
Krishna
back
Prabhu,
to.
is it the same Achalona Prabhu? Achaloyam Sanatana.
Yeah, Achala, immovable.
Achala. Actually, one of the lecture what when I heard, he says it is fixed qualities.
Achala, okay. Because of the fixed qualities, it is called as Achala, immovable.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mother. And one more question, Roji. Even though like Krishna talked about the soul properties and characteristics, all this, but to inside the anger of Arjuna towards Kauravas, so still like Krishna used the material designations like Kaunteya, Partha, all these things. So there like the external designations helped him to fight the war or these things. So this like one side is like Krishna talked about soul, and other side is Krishna used the external designations to insight. So how to understand this?
Yeah, because Krishna is telling to Arjuna that you are not this body, but at the same time, if he would have acted on the platform of the soul, then Krishna would have, there was no need of for Krishna to tell all these things again to instigate him, because he has heard it again. See, if he carefully see, if it were to be the case that Arjuna would have understood, like then he should have at the end of the second chapter he should have told that, oh Krishna, yatechasi tata, like no yatechasi tata kuru. Krishna told to Arjuna that karishya vachanam tava, I'll do your whatever you say. That's what Arjuna told at the end of the 18th chapter. Though that he should have told at the second chapter end only, because he was not still, he had many lurkings, or like no, not fully convinced. So that's why again and again so many questions he asked, and for that Krishna wanted him to again like no, bring him to the like no, from the familiar, taking from the familiar to the unfamiliar. So the same way he was trying to, okay, you are on the bodily platform, you are familiar with these things. From this, like no, instigate him and like no, make him come to that. And then finally at the end he says, oh Krishna, whatever you are telling, that I'll do it. So for that he had to use it. The same way we may not be able to see that recently when Bhakti Samrat Swami Maharaj had come, Maharaj was telling this Ardha Shaka Nyaya, Ardha Chandra, Shaka Chandra Nyaya. There is like no, when a person, the small child cannot understand what the moon is or where it is, the mother shows, okay, trees, trunk is there, trunk, branch, in between the branch you're able to see the moon. So that way from the familiar to the unfamiliar. So that way Krishna is also okay. Familiar, we have this body, the identification. So from that he is taking slowly to the other side.
Yes, Roji. Thank you, bro. Krishna, any other devotees have any questions or clarifications? Okay, brother, I think everybody is clear. So we can end the class here with Vaishnava Pranam.
Vancha kalpatarupishya kapa sindhubhyo vichkritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Ananta koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Vaishnava Thakur Shri Jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, once again. And thanks all devotees. Tomorrow again we'll meet tomorrow at 7:15 in the morning. Hare Krishna. Now in the class. Hare Krishna.
And also today evening there is the association of His Holiness Asit Krishna Swami Maharaj. Devotees can try to take advantage of the Maharaj association. Maharaj is giving one class in ICC today evening from 7 o'clock just after Gaurarti. Hare Krishna.
Yes, bro. Thank you, brother. Very many.